about how the emergence of AI and just all these other things that are happening is going to play a huge role in whether or not a person can succeed. If you can adapt, then there's amazing opportunities. But if you are stagnant, if you do not change, if you do not evolve, if you do not have consciousness about the way the world is changing, then you're probably going to get left behind, and then the only crown you get is the crown of being labeled victim, right? And that's not what we're doing. There's no virtue in victimhood. We are winners. Tell me if you agree. Let me know if that's okay for me to say that. All right. So with that said, I want to introduce our special guest today. The first one is the one and only Dr. Asada Moore. And I'm gonna read a little bit of her bio here. And she began teaching at the age of 18 in February, and in February 2017, at the age of 41, she retired from her district level position at the University of Chicago's Urban Education Institute. Before that, she spent 5 years as a high school principal, where she transformed a struggling school, improving academics, staff morale, and budget performance across five essential supports. She's a teacher and a principal. She's traveled the world training educators in math, physics, and engineering, showing them how to teach with engagement, rigor, and joy. In 2020, she transferred her years of lessons in her first mathematics book, African Mathematical Genius, into an online course, The Black Math Genius. It's a product of her company, More Math Geniuses, which partners with schools and districts nationwide to strengthen math instruction through culturally responsive, content-rich professional development. And also on top of that, she's 100% B1, 100% Black
Absolutely.
first, and loves our kids and cares about our community. So, Mr. Sada, how you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. Every time I'm on, I am doing fantastic with the B1 family. Great to be
All
here.
right. All
Thank
right.
you.
And I'm gonna alternate between Miss Asada with Dr. Moore and Dr. Asada, because I don't want to leave out the doctor, because that matters. I want to make sure
Asada
everybody.
is fine. Yes,
Oh,
Asada is
Asada's
fine.
fine. Okay, I just want
Yes.
to be sure, because some
No,
people, you ever meet people where you're like what's your name, and they'll be like, my name is Dr. Joan Wilson, or my name is Dr. James Smith,
that's
and,
not
and
me.
you're like, wow, your mama named
I'm
you
more
doctor.
Asada than anything. I know, right?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's so funny. I mean, people call me Dr. Boyce just because that's just kind of the nickname, but I've
Right.
never, ever, ever in a million, and I want to say this to everybody out here, I hate to say it, but unless you just want to be the most obnoxious person in the room, do not introduce yourself as Dr. Nothing.
Thank
You
you.
know, you just say, when people say, "What's your name?" I say, "My name is Boyce." And then if it
Exactly.
comes, in fact, people have known me. I've had people know me for a long time and not even know that I had a doctorate. If it comes up though, it's like, yeah, I'm a finance professor, but it's not like, oh yeah, let me just tell you that how special and unique. That gets on my nerves. But thank you for giving me that flexibility. All right,
Yes.
so the next guest I want to introduce, certainly last but definitely not least, is Miss Rochelle Abuela.
Odubella.
Oh, you Bella.
Adubella. She's an award-winning digital marketer, certified AI consultant, and former systems engineer for tech giants like Samsung and Motorola. With a background in both engineering and digital marketing, she helps entrepreneurs use AI, automation, and paid ads to scale their businesses. She's a survivor of three near-death experiences. Ooh, wow, we got to hear about that. She's committed to impact-driven work. She specializes in investment traffic strategies and is the author of Get Paid to Launch. Her work has been featured on ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC, and she was recognized with the 40 by 40 Leadership Award by the Black Cultural Archives through her nonprofit Lanorock.org. Lanorock,
Yeah, that's it,
L-A-N-O.
Nana Rock.
Is it right? Okay. Lanorock.org. She and her husband empower youth in Nigeria, the UK, and Spain. She also founded Little Hearts Muesli.
Muesli. It's like a
You just
granola.
you just exposing me. Just know, y'all need to just know. Like I failed English class when I was a kid. I'm doing my best though. It's a heart healthy cereal snack featured in high profile magazine. So, hello, Rochelle. Good to see you again.
Hello, good to see you. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, glad to have you. Glad to have you. And everybody should know that Rochelle is across the sea in the UK, and y'all know that and I don't get to talk about it as much as I want to, but we have a hell of a group of B1 people in the UK. When I go to London, the love is always 100%. You know, it's like meeting people just on the streets and everything. And y'all might have, if you've been around long enough, you know about the story where some black women in the UK pretty much saved my life when they
Oh,
detained
yeah,
me.
you said it last time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the
I'll be
British
back in
ICE.
Houston soon. And we moved. I really like Houston more because of the weather.
Wait, what
I
about
only
Houston?
came. Yeah, I only came for the holidays, so I just stayed a bit longer.
Ah, okay, okay. Well, you know what? It's and actually, it's really funny. I'm gonna start off with something really. In case y'all don't know, what we do sometimes is we like to have fun and money in the morning, right? And I want to show you all something where I
No
sent a
problem.
note to the students. There's Monday in the morning. We meet every day. I don't know if y'all know that, but I sent them something that kind of shocked them a little bit, and I said, yeah, I got detained by ICE, and people are like, well, what do you mean? Like that's crazy. Like so everybody got outraged, but I made it into like a little video, so I'm gonna show you. There's actual video evidence of me being detained by ICE. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. It's on my Instagram. My Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance. So here, let me show you where I got detained by ICE. Okay, hold on. Give me a second. I gotta hit buttons and stuff, and sometimes it's a little weird. All right, so here we go. All right, so I am okay. All right, I found it now. Okay, and I'm sharing, and let me share my audio. So here it goes. So in case you're wondering, it wasn't the other ice. It was the ice that's coming to Chicago this week. I don't know if y'all heard about the ice storms that are coming. So I got detained by ICE, and I actually got it on video. So with the help of AI, I was able to do a reenactment with me and several random white people. And so here is me being detained by ICE. We got a problem. ICE is coming. It's about to get aggressive. I warned y'all. ICE is here. We hate ICE. We hate ICE. No, the ICE on the ground. You gotta be kidding me. No, this ice, the frozen kind. Weather. Chicago winters don't deport people. They deport ankles. The Chicago winners do not deport people, they
I
deport
love that.
ankles.
Oh, it's so funny.
Yes. So boys face the ice and
My ankles
come
were almost
home.
deported the other day. I
That's
almost
right.
took
Wait, who
stairs
what?
almost took me down.
Who
Some
who
stairs,
who almost took you down?
some stairs, some ice on some
Oh,
stairs
the
almost took me
stairs.
down.
Oh,
Yes.
I thought you said the Bears almost took you down because
Oh, no, no, no,
they
no,
took down the
no.
whole city last week. So
Everybody woke up
there's
with
so
an
many weird,
attitude. Yeah.
goofy analogies, right? Just yeah. So anyway, if anybody was offended by my reference, forgive me. Just know that I'm incredibly immature and very proud of it. Maturity is overrated. It really is. All right, so let's get serious now. We're gonna have some serious black conversations. So I want to start with you, Miss Asada and Dr. Moore. Um, when we talk about our children being prepared for the future, a couple things come to mind. One is I got a text from Marcus Klein from Freedom Home Academy. I don't know if you know Marcus or not,
I do. I know
but
Marcus.
but he sent me a note, kind of just giving a quick like thank you because I mentioned Freedom Home Academy International a lot, and yourself as well in terms of places that our kids can go to get a real high quality education, superior education. But unfortunately, many of those spaces are underfunded. But then you go around and you see lots of schools that have money to burn and they're burning the futures of children, in my opinion. Am I being too harsh when I say that? And what are you thinking about when you see that in light of the urgency with which AI is coming into the world and the world is changing in front of us and our children not being ready for that?
To be honest, I'm extremely frustrated and disappointed. One, because as you said, when I was a principal, I had the same budget as everyone else, but I did a lot more with student impact with the monies that I had, but also our children, not only are they not ready, they're less ready than what they would have been just 10 years ago. And so when I look at what I was able to do with students 20 years ago, with having them prepared as middle school students to pass the entrance exam to Lansing Community College, because I was teaching them while I was an engineering student at Michigan State University, I have not seen anything like it now. In fact, if you all Google a report, I forget the school in California, but there's a school in California. They only accept like 20% of the applicants. So they're going for, the top in their classes. But there's a good percentage of the students that are coming in that cannot pass third and fourth grade level mathematics. I'm talking about one of the questions they gave, it was a 6-digit number where they asked the students to round that number to the nearest 100,000. Fourth grade level fractions were on this entrance exam. And so the data just recently came out from NAEP that our scores are the lowest that they've been since they've been testing. So with technology going up, the scores are going down, and it's not just for Black students, it's nationwide, but it's nationwide, and yet and still, no matter how bad it gets, the gap between how Black students are performing compared to everyone else continues to increase as well. So I am deeply frustrated that there is not a sense of urgency that we should be having from all adults, parents, and educators.
Wow. So Rochelle, as a person who's deep into tech as well, um, what should we be prepared for? I mean, there's a lot of talk. I don't know if y'all been following what's been going on in Davos and all that, and the world leaders are talking about the future and how they're going to make so much money and everything. Um, do you think that there's a reason to be kind of concerned in terms of how the world's going to change, say 5 or 10 years from now?
No, there is a reason, but I always like to talk about the solutions. I know the facts are there with what Sata shared. It's like, wow, it's alarming. But I think we can make a difference even in our home. So I'll give you an example. My two children, my son is 9, my daughter is 11. I'm already teaching them AI. I buy programs and I let my children learn. And I know that they are falling behind in terms of, academically, but I think AI has really opened up so many opportunities for us. It's like, my daughter's already made like $750 on her own with her own clients, and she's 11. So there's potential out there. I'm not saying we shouldn't, not look at education. We definitely should, because you need to have the foundation. However, as parents and as educators, we can instill that learning into our children. We can still, even if your children go to school, yes, they're going to get the core training there. But even at home, we need to take the time to really empower our children and find their interests. Because being a home educator with my children, well, we call it world school. We don't even say homeschool. Our children travel the world as me and my husband travel. And I think that has just made their life so amazing. I mean, so what I'm trying to say is that I know there is a problem. We do need to address it, and I agree with Asata. But let's focus on what we can do to empower our children from their interests. Because my son doesn't want to stay in a classroom. He couldn't sit still, get in trouble all the time. And I didn't want that for him. So I know that I need to work with Asata on his maths. He doesn't like maths. And I'm sure Asata can help him, because he's like, he just can't stand it anyway. But at the end of the day, it's like, I think it's just the way that they're taught. It's just making learning not fun anymore. It's like, and I think that's what we need to look at. How do we bring back the fun in learning?
Well, Dr. Moore, it's one of the core values in the Black Business School is that Black people, we should educate our own children, create our own jobs, support Black-owned businesses. And the reason we have that first core value about educating our own kids is not to say yank your kids out of public school. It just says, push yourself into the space of being one of the dominant educators for your child, right? Look for the educators in the community that can really supplement what they might be missing from the standardized system. What has your experience been like when how do you navigate that balance, right, between the fact that there are millions of parents in our community, they just get it, they just say, you know what, I'm going to make sure my child gets the things that Rochelle's talking about, whether it's world schooling or home instruction, things like that, versus the millions of kids where their primary source of education comes from that system, right? We have lots of kids that are just institutionalized. How do you balance that in turn, rather than, because sometimes it seems like we might seem almost what's the word, they call us the uppity Negroes, right? Because we're saying, well, why don't you fix it yourself? And people are like, well, how can I do that? I got to go to work and my kid, right? So what is your analysis on it? What can you say to parents that might sort of help balance that?
Just a little disclaimer, in my years as I've approached 50, I've kind of moved to the uppity Negroes just about 20%, just for a little peace of mind. Because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Because those that need what we're doing the most are the hardest to work with. And that has been my experience. And so with that, you're right, 70 to 80% of our people, they don't have the privilege to be able to work from home, or to be able to homeschool, whatever it is. They don't have that privilege. And so they have to do what Rochelle was talking about. They have to do both. And so they can also homeschool. Homeschool doesn't have to be during the school day, right? And so they also have to re-educate, supplement, educate. It has to be both. It can be a simple start as this week. I'm looking at the 250 plus people that are on there. I know you have young people. I know they're on Roblox.
Yeah.
I know they're on those tablets. It can be as simple as cutting that time in half, because the research that's coming out with what it's doing to their ability to be able to focus, to be able to persist at solving problems. I'm often on IBM's and some of these others websites. We're talking about AI, but I've been looking ahead at quantum, because the CEI has this NQTEL. The CEI basically has a branch where they're their own venture capitalists, and they're working on technology where there are human implants to come up with machine to human interaction. The mathematics and everything, when you go to those websites, the language they use is solve problems, work through algorithms, solve massively complicated problems. And we have to think, do our children have in it, are we preparing them so that they can create a piece of software that will make more efficient international shipping? Are we thinking about our children being able to create technologies and companies that can rival Microsoft, that can rival Lucid Automotives? Are we thinking about our children in that light? And if we are, then our home environment, the number of books that we have, what we're doing with them, the museums that we're visiting, as Rochelle, are they traveling? Are they being exposed to other cultures, different types of people? And so it has to be both. And I don't care what your income level is. I don't care if you're making minimum wage or you in the top 1%. That homeschool piece matter. There's something that you can do, starting with limiting their access. If you have to drive them home to school and all you have to do is you just have time to drop them off to the sitter and go to the next thing, while they're there, okay, count by tens. Tell me about Thomas Sankore that we discussed yesterday in the car.
Yeah.
There is something that you can do.
So, Rochelle, uh, you see some of the things we talk about with kids in the U.S. What would you say is the difference in terms of challenges that might exist in the UK? Is it similar, slightly different, or because I find that as Americans sometimes we focus so much on ourselves that we don't pay attention to what's happening in other places in the world, and that's almost embarrassing that we're so narcissist about it. Tell me about the UK. What's been your experience there?
Uh, in terms of the education, schools, where do I start? Okay. I see I mean, my children went to school in Texas as well, so I can compare. Um, so let me see. I think what I could see is that it was super strict in Houston, actually, more strict than the UK, I must say. And
Mm.
what I found was that they wouldn't even let them talk. So when people say to me, like they say, well, how do your children socialize if they're at home all day and stuff like that? And I hear this all the time. But when they're at school, especially in Houston, weren't even allowed to talk in the cafeteria. They were told level 0, no talking. So I'm like, when did they find time to actually socialize? It's like there was no
Wow.
socialization, really. Most times it was level 0, and then sometimes they would cut their recess if they didn't finish their homework and things like that. So I was like, this is tough. I mean, I don't know what about the other states, but I've only had experience with Houston, Texas, but it was quite strict. But compared to the UK, they had like a morning break. They had the lunch break in the afternoon. Then they had an afternoon break. So they had a lot more outdoor activity, I found. As I said, in other states it's probably different, because even when I talked to somebody from New York, it was quite a different setup to Texas. So it is different state by state, but um, I love the US. As I said, my husband moved us to Houston in 2024, but we've kind of been global, kind of living between UK and Texas. So I think there is a lot of similarities in terms of, yes, they are falling behind. They are spending a lot of time on Roblox. We've had to put, my husband's very good at IT, so we use apps like Family Safety, Family Link on Windows to kind of limit their activity, because if you don't do that, we're constantly saying, get off the tablet, get off the tablet. But look, simple little things like that. If the computer says time for a break, it's not me doing it. It says the computer. So that's one thing, just the people that are here, if you are struggling with getting them off the tablets, that's one practical way that's helped us. It took about 2 hours for my husband to set it up, but it was worth it because it means 7 p.m. computer's off and there's nothing you can do because you can't turn it back on anymore. So that's one thing that we can do. And I think it is very similar, to be honest, in terms of the overuse of games. And then, and somebody said in the chat that they're not allowing our children to think anymore, and it's true. It does affect their focus, and I've noticed it with my son. So we're even more strict with him because he's just so into the games. But then once it's off, he goes and does his drawing, goes and does right. They'll find other things to do once you limit that access.
Well, Dr. Moore Asada, I also, I'd be curious to ask you this too. If someone was to say, why are Black kids falling behind? Let's say in Chicago public schools. I know you're from Chicago, and I've lived here for a while. What would you say? Would say if you had to pick three top reasons why, meaning three things to focus on, what would you say would be the top three?
Top three things as to why what?
Why our kids are struggling in school? Maybe I hope I said the question. My apologies for that. But yeah, why our kids are like, why they have these gaps, and the majority of our kids can't read at grade level, do math at grade level. I can't help but feel like it's like I'm not gonna say a plan, but at the very least, it's benign neglect. It's an easily solvable problem that they don't care enough to solve. Please.
I'm glad you said it. It is easily solvable. So one of the things I would say is that for me, the biggest thing is because, and I say this cautiously because I work with teachers, I consult teachers, and I love teachers because I'm a former teacher and a lifelong educator. But one is that the teachers do not know their content to the level that the students are required to pass. I've been in plenty of classrooms where I've observed a teacher teaching mathematics incorrectly and straight up just giving the wrong answer. If you will give all teachers the assessments that we're asking students to pass, most of them will not be able to pass it. So that's one of the issues. The second issue is that when we look at the way that they're spending the money, because I remember when we were first in schools in Lansing, Michigan, we were getting something like $8,000-$10,000 a child, and we were doing a lot with that. The cost has, in some cases, more than tripled. You have in some cases where you're spending $30,000-$40,000 a year on a child, and to educate each student, right? And so when we look at the way that money is just, and so it's turned into a capitalism thing. You have all these big publishers, and they're all trying to get the money, and then along with that, you're paying for the consultant. And so it's a lot of money being spent, but not being spent to actually help children. And again, and so this thing with the teachers piece, because a lot of it is there, but you also do have the social fabric of the country has changed a lot to where parents do not parent. When I look at parents now, no matter what the age is, I do this thing where I compare. So like if I see a 34-year-old parent, and I say that all parents are this way, I'm generalizing, but if I see a 34-year-old parent and some of the things that they're doing now, and I compare that to my 34-year-old mom at the same time when I was that age, it is just a drastic difference. My mom did not listen to the same music that I listened to. She did not socialize in the same way that I socialized in. But we have parents where there is a very thin line between who's the parent and who's the child. And so what we have is, it's really not a child problem, it's an adult problem. The educators, as well as the parents, are not doing what they're supposed to do, and neither have the sense of urgency that's required to change this. And so our educators, we rolled out Common Core, and Common Core is rigorous. That's what's messing people up. It's rigorous. They talk about, oh, test our bias. I don't want to hear it. Math is math no matter where you go. And a child should be able to do it whether we take them to China, whether we take them to Nigeria, whether we take them to Egypt, whether they're in Chicago. They should be able to do the mathematics. What happened is we rolled out Common Core, but we did not train the teachers and make sure that they were equipped to be able to do the mathematics at the level of rigor that was being required. And that rigor came in because we looked and we saw that everyone else was kicking our butt in math and science. We were
Mm.
somewhere down at number 23. And so we increased the rigor, but we did not prepare our educators and our teachers to be able to teach at that level.
Hmm. Interesting. Well, it's okay. So it sounds like what you're saying is something that I've heard from others, which is that it's kind of fruitless to sort of say it's just the teachers or it's just the parents, or it's just the system. It's like it takes a special combination and a lot of effort to destroy the lives of that many children. You can't do that by yourself. You need teammates to really make sure that you ruin these kids, right? Where that everybody's playing a part. And it almost seems to me that if it took a joint effort to cause the problem, maybe a joint effort to come up with the solution, or at the very least, though, if one of those entities was willing to kind of accept their part of the responsibility and make the necessary adjustments, then we could see
And,
progress,
and,
right?
and real quick, the teachers that I'm working with in Chicago, when I get them to make that connection, a teacher was just telling me, she said, I called every single one of my parents and all of them were receptive, and the ones I couldn't get in contact with, I emailed and they respond. I said, imagine that. Imagine that when we actually, schools reach out and partner with parents instead of calling the parents all the time, telling them what their child is doing wrong. And so I tell my teachers, your first call to your parent should always be a good call. Open it up, build rapport, right? So
Wow.
yes, when we partner, it works.
I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah. So the
Uh,
same.
so so Rochelle, what that makes me think about with yourself, Rochelle, is I know that you did some work with systems.
Yeah.
You were a systems engineer, is that correct?
It's
With
really
some
long. It's electronic embedded computer systems engineering.
Yeah, and you know what I think is because I was working on some stuff related to generational wealth. And one of the things that I end up thinking deeply about is just systems and implementing systems and just what that looks like. A lot of times I think we're trained to um I believe sometimes we're trained to think about the system as being the enemy. The system is the oppressor. The system is that's where the racism is coming from and everything else. But I think systems can be implemented even with parents. My
Yeah.
parents had systems in our household that overrode the systems that existed outside of the house. Right? My father was a police captain, so he had there was structure, right? Certain boundaries you didn't jump out of. My mother would take me to meet people like Miss Asada on Saturdays, to make sure that I got what I needed because she knew I was a black boy who was going to get some trouble from the school system, and they wanted to put me on the medication and all that. So it was the Miss Asadas, and you would have that respect and yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, and it just became a different relationship, and so I almost wonder if. Even training, I know, Asada. I assume that Dr. Moore would appreciate this as well. Is that it almost seems to me that we should really think carefully within ourselves and our families about our empowerment when it comes to understanding systems and developing systems in the household that can override the systems outside the household. Because I'm not convinced, and maybe I'm a skeptic, Rochelle, but I'm not convinced that these external systems, whether you talk about the government or you talk about the school systems or you talk about the elites in their systems, the billionaires controlling the world, I don't think these systems are designed to really empower people. I think they're designed to sort of keep you in your box and make sure they can make money from you or whatever it is. Whereas, family systems can actually be beneficial for building wealth, empowerment, and everything else. Can you talk about that a little bit in terms of your training on systems and how that helps you on a daily basis?
Yeah, no, I think it's really that's a great point because I even operationally so let me go back to what Asat was saying. about the partnership between the parents and the teachers. What I did really love about the school in Houston, and just a disclaimer, it wasn't every lunchtime. I saw someone in the chat, not every lunchtime they couldn't talk, just very often. But anyway, just to put that out there. What I found that they had this app that allowed you to communicate with the teacher, so they could have, it's called, I think it was called Class Dojo or something like that. And I really liked that because it allowed me to see the progress every day. I could log in and see. We didn't have that in the UK, and I felt that that was a really good benefit. And I like that the teachers actually called the parents so you can collaborate and say, this is what happened. Could you help? Because I think what Asatu was saying, if you have that partnership, they're not gonna. It's less likely to fail then, because it's like, well, your parents have a vested interest in their success. You can't just blame the teachers for everything, because the teacher can only do so much. There's like 32 children in one class. It's a lot. But obviously with AI now, they can create their lesson plans using ChatGPT, which is obviously what some of them are doing. But I wanted to address what Tasmin said in the chat, because she said that a lot of times that children, they might fail in a particular subject. Let's say it's maths, they got an F. And then they'll quickly move them to the next thing, and they haven't even mastered the geometry or the algebra. And I think that is a problem. Whereas if you take, because my dad was an engineer as well, which you pass it on to me, he would actually sit with me at home. I went to school, or worked till university, but he took the time to show me, like, go through it until I got it right. So when I went back to school, I was ahead. But I know that that's not always the case now, because of the system, not the family system, but the other system. People have to work two jobs to make ends meet, and it's a lot to juggle. So I think what the micro things we can change, like Asata was saying, just if you're in the car, ask questions, ask, different you can even ask a simple maths question just as you're driving to school, picking them up. And I think that we can start there and implement that as a system. You could just say, I want to talk to my children about a certain subject 3 times a day, or you could systemize that and just tick it off. Like, even at home, we have a chart where we tick off the chores, we tick off. And I think it might sound very like army-like, but I think children need to see that they've accomplished something, especially even if it's in the classroom, they have the little tick boxes. We can bring that into the home and see, has Jamie done this? Has Bob done this? Whatever their name is. And that helps empower them to do more good things, and to improve even more once they see that they're getting things done.
Well, that's a great point, and I love that. And what I want to do is share with everybody in here. Anybody in here, a parent, grandparent, anybody got kids you mentor, football team, cheerleading coaches, aunties, anybody. If you're in that category, put yes in the comments, and I'm gonna give you a little homework assignment. I want you to implement systems that, or at least one system that will lead to some level of success. I want you to understand that it's not just the man that has the ability to operationalize a system against you. You have the ability to operationalize systems that are simple to implement, that will make a massive difference long term. Rochelle, in the very beginning, mentioned systems with her child that involve earning income, right? So I would figure out some sort of income earning system for your child. Like, get them involved in something that will help them make some money, because what that will do is that will help them to see money as something they can create, as opposed to something that they only get from a job. Another type of system might be, oh, go ahead. Do you have something to say?
No,
Rochelle?
I'm going to give an example. Exactly what I did with my son. He actually comes to me and says, "Mommy, can I have another job?" I made him do a spreadsheet. He had to edit a spreadsheet, and he used ChatGPT to edit the times on a spreadsheet so they're in the right order. And I paid him like $5 or something. And he said, "Can I have another job?" So it's like he wants to do stuff now because he knows he's going to get paid. He can't get a bank account just yet, but I store it in his little, piggy bank thing. But once he gets the bank account, he'll be like, wow, I've just made real money. And that's what we did with my daughter, because she's 11. She's got her own bank account. So I just wanted to give an example of what you just said, because that's really key. I really like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And income, so income systems. If you make money systematically, that's actually a lot easier than making money through labor and stuff like that. That's one of the things that we talk about when we're working with kids in the Black Business School. Is it's like, yeah, you can work until you're dead if you want to. I saw a video the other day about a poor lady that works at it was Sam's Burlington Coat Factory. She was 92 years old, and they did a GoFundMe for this poor lady because she was working until 92, and she was moving pretty good for a 92-year-old. But that's not the future that we want for our kids, right? So when you learn systems, then you're able to kind of break out of some of that. I would say also ownership, systems of ownership. That means You get a little money. Remember, income is the opportunity for ownership. It's not the same. Income is not wealth, but income is an opportunity to create wealth. So your child gets a little money, they get $40 for their birthday. Then you talk about, okay, we're going to take some of it and we're going to go and maybe buy some stock, or we're going to put it in the bank, or whatever it is, right? Something they own, something that they're going to have long term, and then a little bit you let them spend, right? So what is your ownership system? What is the ownership conversation that you have with the kids? In fact, actually, I want to ask you about this, Asada. This was a conspiracy theory I saw where they were saying, they were talking about Davos, where all the rich people got together, like thousands of them, from Elon Musk across the board, to the people that run BlackRock and all that. And I saw someone that raised the alarm about the fact that they were talking about, they were like, well, why should you own a refrigerator? You should just lease one. Why should you own a car when you can lease one or rent one or whatever, right? So they were really talking about this world where, you may have heard this, where they say,
Yeah.
what is it?
Own nothing,
You'll
win
own
everything.
nothing and you'll be happy. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Mm.
But here's what was interesting though. I was thinking about this and I said, well, really, I mean, how much do I really benefit from owning a car anyway, or owning um owning a dryer or a washer? I don't know it, or owning shoes, right? Don't get me wrong, I don't want to rent shoes, but a lot of times all ownership's not equal, right? There's a difference between owning something that's going to build your wealth versus
Mhm.
owning something that's going to deplete your wealth. That's going to just cost you a bunch of money. And it's even for the elite. Like I know an accountant who says that the dumbest thing she sees rich people do is buy airplanes. She says there's no reason you own an airplane, it's going to drain you. The operating costs are incredibly expensive. That's how Scottie Pippen damn near went broke, as he bought this jet, and jets cost like $5,000 an hour to operate, and it just drains your money. So owning assets is different from owning liabilities. So I want to frame that into a question for you, and I know that you're a math person, so I know you get all this. Um, what do you think about in terms of just how math is such an important part of something of an asset that you have that allows you to even participate in the ownership process, right? Like I talked to a young lady who was good at hair, and I was trying to explain to her how people make money doing hair. And I said, okay, I said, yeah, if you run a shop and let's say that everybody does hair, and they make $1,000 and they give you 20%, I think I said something like, so if they make 1,000, you get 20% of 1,000, how much do you get? And she froze for a minute. This is a 30-year-old now. And she
Mhm.
said, and she guessed some random number. She said, I don't know, $800. Like it was something where she just basic percentages was
Mhm.
not even in her mind. And I felt terrible for even asking the question, but I didn't know how severe the problem was. It seems to me, Asada, and I want you to take it from here because I'm talking too much, that because kids don't have basic math understanding, it's almost like it eliminates them from
Absolutely.
any form of economic power in this society, because you have to know percentages to be able to count your money when you get it.
I mean, absolutely. So that math that you're speaking of, just the everyday math, that's the math, and tying it into where you say, you know, own nothing and be happy. Well, for me, after doing the math, I decided that I would never sell another piece of real estate,
Mm, mm,
because studying the mathematics behind the appreciation and the value of holding it and renting it and putting up, because if you're renting it, then that means that someone is making money off of you by owning it, right? No matter what it is. And so watching the way that real estate has appreciated no matter what is not a straight linear, but it's usually going up. And so you need to be able to do that quick math. One of the things that I do just when I'm shopping, automatically I'll look at two products, because sometimes you think, oh, the bigger one is only $2.99 and they put the bright sticker on there. But I want to see how much does it cost per ounce. I want to compare apples to apples, not size and color of the sticker price. And a lot of times you'll find that buying more doesn't necessarily mean that you're paying less. You think that you're getting a deal, and that's psychological, but my math is going to try, it's like rock, paper, scissors. My math is going to beat that psychology every time, right?
mm.
Because the psychology is playing a trick, but the mathematics is exact. And so our young people, though they don't have the just the quick mathematics is. Like you said, if someone automatically says 20% of whatever it is, right, I'm going to be able to do the math immediately and see what that works out to. There are just certain mathematics that you do. Okay, I figured out that if you're doing 20% of the tip, typically that equates to about double the tax rate in Chicago because our tax rate is about 10 point such and such percent, right? Those are just quick things that you want to be able to do. So yes, we need to have that basic piece. But I want to hit that system that you were talking about because when you were explaining, I didn't realize that I had a system even as an educator. And so what that meant was that no matter how bad education was around me, as a principal, I was the boss. So that means that was a piece of domain, a piece of real estate that I owned. And that means all of my 70 something staff in there, I had control over. So one of the things that was part of my system was to teach my staff about their finances, was to teach them about home ownership. It can be quickly before professional development. And I would share with them, hey, I just bought a condo through a tax sale for $250, true story. Now everyone is intrigued. How did you buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom condo with a tax sale? Oh, let me tell you about the scavenger sale in Cook County, right? And so I made sure that they all had passports because most of my staff came in young. They didn't have passport. I would ask them because HR wasn't going to tell you, are you contributing to TIA-CREF, the teacher retirement system, right? No, what's TIA-CREF? Oh, they didn't tell you about it, or they probably just gave you the packet and you didn't read it. Well, you want to go back to HR, sign up for it because the University of Chicago is doing a 3.5% match, right? And this is what the interests look like. And so my system that I've always had with our people and even young people, when I was on tutoring earlier today, I was telling them real quick, as we're working out this problem, Pythagoras studied in Egypt for 23 years. He learned this from Black people. So actually the Pythagorean theorem is not his. Okay, we can give it to Khufu because you can still see this in Khufu's pyramid of the 3 great pyramids. So part of my system has been, I don't care what's going on. I don't care who's in office. I don't care what white people are doing to us or not doing to us. My system is I'm always going to teach our people about us and about how to build wealth, no matter what it is that I'm doing. So yes, we can and we need to have our own systems.
Well, I agree with you 100%. And what I liked about what you were saying just now, Dr. Moore, was you were talking about um, owning property, for example, and making money consistently over time, things like that, things that I think everybody should understand and try to master at some point. And I want to remind everybody that tonight, you guys know we're doing our financial slumber parties where we get together and on a Friday night in our pajamas and at 11 o'clock on a private Zoom, and we play music, play games, have fun, and we learn finances. And actually, the topic for tonight has to do with exactly that: build it once and make money forever. So we're going to really do deep dives on what it takes to build recurring income systems within your house. So I want to share the link with everybody in the chat so that if you want to join, and of course, Asada and Rochelle, you're invited as well. And it's just fun. I know hundreds of you came to the last financial slumber party. It was a lot of fun. And I think also, Rochelle, that one of the things I believe is that sometimes we think that learning always has to be like really hard and really serious and it has to be in a classroom and stuff like that. And I don't believe that. I believe that the best learning I ever had in my life came from like my mother or my father just having conversations with me and about real things, real life, solving real problems that I would have. And so can you kind of speak to that, in your experience just as a mom and really taking that liberty to make sure that your kids get what they need? Because I know that as a person who knows AI, you see everything that's coming and how so many people are going to get broadsided when when they're hitting AGI and the robots are smarter than people and all these other things. It's a really crazy world. Super intelligence is scary. Quantum mixed with super intelligence. What world is that, right? So talk about that in terms of just your perspective on that as just a mom and kind of making a way for your family.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I always like to use examples. So you talked about Roblox earlier. So for example, if your children like Roblox and Minecraft, what we did, we created lesson plans with like Roblox characters or Minecraft characters, like villagers and all these things. And I didn't have a clue back then what that even was. But what I found that when me and my husband take time to get involved in what they like, it's like, okay, Roblox is addictive. Yes, we know that. However, if you turn it into a learning exercise, he did the work. This is the thing. And my son doesn't like, for example, my son doesn't like writing very much. So what we did, we have this board game called Who's Conscious. So it had some blank cards that allows him to write his own questions, and you have to do true or false. It could be multiple choice. And that really helped him. Now he says, can I get the cards to do writing? So we now found a way for him to write more. So it's about being more creative. Like, what is it that your children like that you can turn into learning? Because as you said, it shouldn't have to be always sat in a classroom. That is not, it's not the natural way of learning. I mean, I think Asato was saying earlier, our ancestors did not learn the way we're learning now. I'm sure they did not. So we probably need to look at what we did back in the day and apply that here more. And but practically, going back to practical, not to say it wasn't, but the other things that we found in terms of, it's just me being a mother as well, is even in the kitchen, for example, just weighing out flour, weighing out the ingredients. You're still doing maths when they're younger, obviously. Just weighing things out and working out how to use scales in the kitchen is another form of learning. But we think that if they're not sat down with a book and a pen, they're not learning, but they're learning from everything. And you even said yourself that you learned from your mother and your father, just listening to what they're saying. And again, you're learning that way, even through history. Like when you sit and talk to those that are elder ones, they're so wise. I just sit and listen because I can learn from them, even me being an adult. So how much are they taking in just listening to really good conversation in the home?
I love that. Okay, so I want to. So Dr. Moore and Rochelle, one thing that we do sometimes when we meet in the morning is we'll take a little like digital field trip to Instagram, and I'll show them just some of the shenanigans that I was posting on IG because I do believe that learning can and should be fun. So I'm always having fun. I just,
I've been seeing some of your stuff pop up on Facebook. I hadn't seen it before. I used to see you a lot on when it was still Twitter.
yeah.
So I'm looking forward. Now I got to find you on Instagram.
Yeah. Well, my Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance, and I love your inputs and insights. I love to see it, and both of you. Actually, before I even do that, do y'all have Instagram? Do you want to share your Instagram so we can all follow each other and if y'all put up posts, I don't mind collaborating with you and stuff like that. I'll
Oh,
start with
yes,
you, Dr.
please.
Moore, and then you, Rochelle.
Yeah, mine is at More Math Geniuses because we need more math geniuses. But more my last name, more math geniuses. I drop it in the chat there.
Okay, all right, and
Thank you for
Rochelle,
that.
what about yourself?
Yeah, at Rochelle Odubella. You see on the screen. You can follow me there. On Facebook, Rochelle Odubella. LinkedIn, Rochelle Odubella. Very
Rochelle
easy.
Artabella. All right, right there on the screen. So everybody look on the screen and let me know if you're going to follow these two ladies. And this is important. I want to be conscious about this in terms of saying like don't just let's not just say I think you're great. Let's really support and it's nothing to just hit the follow button because that's important. I find that remember you live in an attention commodity. And I see people get so much attention and have all these followers, and they're doing nothing with it. I'll see a rapper that have 30 million followers, and all he'll do is post jokes and stupid stuff, and it's fun. It's okay to have fun, but when everything's nothing, when you're just constantly promoting ignorance in the community, how can you expect that community to prosper? How's that community ever gonna get out from under the thumb of oppression if even some of the grown you got 50-year-old men acting like children? Now don't get me wrong. I've been, I definitely can have fun, but y'all know that I have a serious side too. In fact, sometimes I try to have fun just to not scare people. Because I can be a scary black man and I'm not a scary black man. But I am a man who's serious about the stuff that I'm serious about. And I think all of us can have that balance. And I think sometimes it seems with hip hop and comedy and all that really being so pervasive in our community that it's like everything's a joke. Everything's about something ignorant. It's like, no, you got serious stuff to worry about. So anyway, so what I'm gonna do is I'll start off and I'm gonna show for those of you that missed the video earlier, I'm gonna show you when I got detained by ICE. So this is my goofy side, but then I'm gonna show you the serious side. So I'll just play it one more time for those who missed it earlier. because this is AI, and I think AI is cool. So I got detained by ICE, and because ICE is coming to Chicago this weekend. If you don't know, this morning me and my wife got up at 5 to go to the gym, and it was -2 degrees, and it's gonna get colder all day long. So ICE is coming to Chicago, but y'all know how white people are; they be jumping to conclusions. So here's what happened.
Go. We got a problem. ICE is coming. It's about to get aggressive. I warned y'all. ICE is here. We hate ICE. We hate ICE. No, the ICE on the ground. You gotta be kidding me. No, this ICE, the frozen kind. The weather. Chicago winters don't deport people. They deport ankles.
Just like that. They don't deport people, they deport ankles. Well, that's going to be my slogan for 2026. All right, so here's the serious side. Let's play that. I want to start with you, Dr. Moore, and get you like a quick comment from you on this, and then we'll go to you, Rochelle. And if nothing comes to mind, that's okay. But I just want to hear what you both think about this. So here it goes.
60 at the door, just to exist in the building. $1,500 for a section, money that could have paid you back. $800 for bubbles in a bottle, when ownership was on sale. Every dollar you threw in the air had a second job you ignored. That's opportunity cost. What your money could have been doing instead. While one night fades with the base, investments keep working after the lights come on. One choice flexes for a night, the other builds freedom for life. The real question isn't what you spent, it's what it cost you.
So, Dr. Moore, that with that video, one of the things that made me think about, that I was thinking about when we put that together was how like sometimes people make you feel bad when you're serious about education or whatever, and you're not, especially when you're young. There's a lot of pressure to party, a lot of pressure to waste your life, a lot of pressure to just live for the moment. And what I've seen is successful people don't do that. People that win in life, they ain't out here just partying all the time constantly. But literally, even if you look at for years, the Diddy culture. That's what I called it. Where every time I saw this Negro on TV, he's out here dancing. And everything's always like a party, popping bottles and all that. And people got to the point where they thought that was acting black. Do you think that there's a danger to that, Dr. Moore, or am I just tripping?
Oh, no, there's an absolute danger to it. Absolute danger to it. And when you were speaking earlier and you mentioned Diddy, I was, thinking entertainers. You know how powerful it would be to have so many entertainers that people, I love Beyonce, but imagine Beyonce coming out just doing a campaign at no cost, promoting education. I looked at that young streamer, Kai Cenat, and he's been doing this thing where he's been reading, right? And I've been intentional about sharing that because this is a young man that millions of young people follow. And then I end up seeing another video, had an algorithm. I saw an even younger brother. He said, because Kai is reading, I'm going to start reading. But imagine people that have, as you said, these millions of followers doing that. And so in looking at that video and you were showing how the cost, you paying this much for bubbly, you paying this much. I remember in 2012, I remember what I was wearing when I decided. 2012, I got on some hot red pants. I'm going to a spot in Evanston to these rich folks out there that want to board my school, and driving down out there, I said, and you know how it is going through Evanston, real pretty through there, right? Especially along the lakeside. I said, I'm not buying anything. This was for a Christmas party. I said, I'm not buying anything for 2013. I'm not even buying a pair of socks that they sell on 87th Street on the street, right? What happened was that I was then able to buy, after doing that for 2013, an opportunity came along, 78th and Kingston in the South Shore neighborhood, a 3-unit building for $36,000. I had cash to go in and buy it.
Wow.
And so as that Instagram video was showing, the opportunity of that adding up, and even if you don't go out and buy a building or whatever, I think you always want to invest because the value of the dollar is always going down, right? But imagine if you're just taking that money instead of going to the club and you're putting it into an ETF or something like that, or you're putting it into crypto, and it's smaller amounts. It doesn't have to be that you're saving enough to have the 34,000 to go buy a property. But I've seen, just with doing things, I ignored Acorn a couple of times. And Acorn to just shoot up in the thousands of dollars just by putting in $50 or $100. So, I mean, another one of your powerful Instagram videos that spark a lot of conversation and triggers a lot of things that, yeah, I did the opposite of that and was able to accomplish this.
Well, I love what you're saying. I love that. I mean, And really, it's Rochelle. It's simple. It's as if you want to have a great future, you sacrifice for that future. You invest in that future, and somebody along the way really injected this party culture that doesn't lead to anything good. It just leads
You
to
said earlier,
being broke.
intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's intentional, absolutely. And so it almost seems like there's like a little bit of an uphill battle where because one issue I've run into, Rochelle, is there are some people who don't think professors are real people, right? They I come in and I say, well, hey, if we invest, then we can have wealth. And the next first thing I get is, well, you don't understand. What do you mean I don't understand? I don't know what it means to be poor. No, I was born in the projects. Well, you're a professor, so yeah, but I became a professor. I wasn't a professor when I was 17. I was a 17-year-old, and I made a decision, right? And I think sometimes what oppression can do is it takes away your own agency. It makes you really truly embrace, like really hold on to victimhood for dear life. Like as long as I keep failing, I get to claim I'm a victim. The minute I start committing myself to the responsibility of taking control of my fate, then that creates a whole list of stressors that I'm not ready for. So I'm going to remain in this childlike state where every time something goes wrong, or every time I get left behind, or every time I'm not ready, I can say it's because I'm a victim, and because being black makes you a victim. Do you think that that's something that we have to confront, or am I just tripping? What do you think, Rochelle?
And I think we need to, we can't use it as an excuse all the time. It's like we know that, you know, being black, yes, it has, I don't want to say limitation because I don't like that. But we just have to rise above it. That's all I can say. We have to rise above it and not even give it any of our energy, because as you know, what you give your energy to, what grows. So let's just not pay attention. Let's show up, do what we need to do. And I love the investment side as well. I love property. I mean, I love land. I mean, my husband's always a big like investor, so I really love that. And the what you said, what you showed me in that video with the club is like that made me laugh actually, because it's like I actually chose to, you know, when you get that opportunity to leave home at 18 and travel and go to university or you go to college, I chose to stay in my home city because I was like, the course is better. I love my mom and dad. I love my brother. Everything was just, why do I need to go and waste money? I've never had any student debt because I stayed at home, did my degree. No, that's not for everyone. But for me, it just felt like, what was the point of getting into debt? So I just wanted to share that because you don't have to leave your hometown to get a degree. And I've forgotten what the question was exactly, but but that's just what I
Oh,
wanted to
the
share.
question don't matter.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
I
not a
mean,
real interview. I just pretend to be one when people are around, but we just talking.
exactly.
Let
But
me.
you share so much value, so it's good. But yeah.
Yeah, well, you know what? What I want to do before I let our guests get the last word is I want to give us something to kind of walk away with, and I was looking up effects of a victim mentality, and I think it's that thin line between acknowledging everything we've gone through versus not forgetting all the things that we're capable of doing, all the freedoms that we do have that can help us to get to where we want to get to. And so I'm gonna so what I did was I was looking up the effects of the victim mentality. And you ladies can comment either on this or just make a parting remark is totally fine. And I want to make sure I share your information before we go. So here's what happens when you have a victim mentality and what it does to you in terms of limiting not just the stress, not just you feeling the stress of what's happened to you, but you literally recreate that past if you're not careful. One, you form learned helplessness, and that's when you constantly see that you see yourself as a victim. You begin to believe your actions do not matter, which reduces motivation and effort, even when change is possible. So that means that because I believe I'm a victim, I don't matter, my actions don't matter. So why would I try if I'm automatically going to fail anyway? And y'all tell me what happens when you don't try? Does that increase or decrease your likelihood of success? Yeah, what do y'all think? Now let me know. Give me a yes or no also if you know people who are stuck in that mindset, who literally have embraced the victim mentality, who literally say, it doesn't matter if I try because I remember when I was in college and I had good grades, I was kind of known as a smart guy, which I felt I had imposter syndrome because I wasn't convinced that I was that smart. I just thought that I just worked hard and got lucky. And I remember a black lady saying to me, she said, "I don't know why you do all that studying. You only gonna go as far as white people want you to go." I
Wow.
remember her saying that. Yeah, and so the second is you form what is called an external locus of control. So if you have a victim mentality, then you start to believe that your outcomes are controlled by other people or systems and not by your own choices, which weakens your personal responsibility and agency. Tell me if you've seen that, where people believe that the man and the systems control everything, and that your
Mhm.
right to even be happy or safe or anything is dependent on the actions of others. I can't tell you how many people claim to be arguing for black liberation, and all they do is they go around begging white people to change their behavior. And I say, yeah, white people should be confronted. Ain't nobody scared of white folks up in here, but confront yourself. Confront the things you can control. Look at the man in the mirror. I always say, I've never met a white man who told me that I could not read a book. I've never met a white man who told me I couldn't go start a business. I never met a white man who told me I couldn't learn AI, right? So what can you control? I would say that gives you more power instead of the frustrating,
Yeah.
endless, draining amount of energy that's required to just constantly ask white people to change. I don't think people are going to change. You can't make them do that. Number three, chronic anger and resentment. How many of y'all see that a lot? Give me a yes if you see that. If you have a victim mindset, it produces long-term bitterness because the person feels wronged and they feel powerless, leading to emotional exhaustion and strained relationships. And also, by the way, studies show that people that are stressed and oppressed and controlled and don't feel like they have any power to change that, they're most likely to form depression. That's where depression can come from. It's like, I'm going through this hell. There's nothing I can do to change it. I'm stuck. So don't let yourself feel powerless. Number four, if you, and Asada's going to like this one, when you have a victim mentality, it reduces your problem solving ability. When blame becomes your default explanation, when the first thing you do is you blame in other people, the brain stops looking for solutions. This is how you're hypnotizing yourself to be stupid and powerless. Not stupid, I don't mean to say stupid, but you're hypnotizing yourself to reduce your own intelligence. So whatever ability you had, you're killing it. So you're participating in your own oppression, right? So literally the brain stops looking for solutions, your creativity declines, obstacles feel larger than they actually are. So you think that by complaining about what the oppressor is doing, that you're fighting the oppressor. No, you are participating in the oppression. You are honoring the oppressor. That's what you're doing. You're like, I'm honoring you by sitting around talking about how I can't do nothing for my family, for myself, for nobody, because you won't let me do it. Don't talk like that. Number five, last point. Then, Mr. Sodom, I'm gonna let you handle this from this point on, and then Rochelle, we'll go to you. Identity fusion with pain. So if you have a victim mentality, over time, the victim role becomes part of your identity. Like you just it's like who you are. So it makes growth feel threatening. So literally, when somebody comes along and says, "Hey, brother, you can change your condition," or "Hey, sister, why don't we try this?" People get mad. Anybody ever seen that when you go to your family members and you try to propose a solution and they get mad at you? Like what did I do? I didn't do nothing. I'm trying to help. No, it's because when you have the victim mentality, that victim role becomes part of your identity. Growth feels threatening because improvement would require you letting go of a familiar narrative. So, in order for you to embrace growth, you have to stop being a victim. And then some people say, "Well, if I'm not a victim, then what am I?" Right? So this is deep, Dr. Moore. This is deep. This is like we all need to go see a therapist because I don't know about you, but my whole life, all I kept hearing was, "Oh, you're a black man, and of course you can't do nothing because you're a black boy. They gonna come get you. That massa gonna come beat you up." So, Dr. Moore, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I love that. And as you were beginning, you hit the important part that I normally argue with people. It's both and. Yes, there were a lot of things done to Black people. There are things, systems in place, but there are a lot of things that we do control. And so as you were speaking, I thought about when students at my school used to get into fights, and both of them claimed to be the victim, right? They both claimed to be the victim. But here's what I would ask them. I would ask them both, what is it that you could have done differently to get a better outcome? That forced all of the ownership on them. So that removed from them the ability to be victim, to say such and such did such and such to me. And so as you've been talking today, it really takes me back and think like, wait a minute, I didn't realize I was doing that. But everything that what you just described was me as a principal removing the idea of victimhood from them and forcing them to take accountability for their actions, no matter what the situation is. If a student comes up and hits you, you know, da 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 da, like what is it that you can do differently to have a better outcome? And that's what I'm asking to the B1 family. No matter what's going on, no matter who's in political office, no matter what's happening, whether it's real ice or ice baby or whatever it is, what is it that you can do differently to make things better? And especially because you all are B1. A lot of people don't have this. And I don't know if you all realize the power in this, because you may be in your B1 shell and don't realize what is out here in the real world, right? But especially B1, I have a higher expectation of you all as it relates to what you're doing with your children, as it relates to who you are, what you're doing in business. You have a responsibility to build wealth, not a right. You have a responsibility to be great parents to your community, not a right. And so everything that you said, yes. And I expect those things from B1. Yes, a lot of things happen to us, but y'all, if we 100x this, which is possible, what Boyce and his team was doing with B1, and you all start doing the things that he's speaking of, I get the emails and things as well. I'm not able to get on the sessions as much, but what I see coming through those emails and what, like tonight, on a Friday night, y'all not popping bottles, y'all popping books and talking about wealth building. We can't turn our situation around no matter where we at. When you look at what Traore is doing in Burkina Faso, it took one person to come in. And now those other African countries are saying, wait a minute, we do have power. We do control. Yeah, get out of here. Imagine if we did that here.
Wow.
Wow, I love that. I love that. Miss Rochelle, any thoughts on this? Any parting thoughts you want to leave us with?
Yeah, I just want to say that in the chat, Derek summed it up great. He said victim mentality is self-sabotage. And I think that sums it up. So, but we don't want to be self-sabotaging ourselves. So we've got to have that growth mindset. We've got to speak positively into any situation, because there's always a light at the end of this tunnel, because everyone has their own challenges. Yeah, we're not alone here. So don't think that you're the only one that's like dealing with things. It's like, it's just not going to help us get anywhere if we keep just focusing on what we can't do. It's like, what can you do? And Sata summed it up beautifully as well. So yeah, we've got to just rise up again above the how we're supposed to think. It's like, what can you? Everyone's got a gift. Just being alive, you have a gift on this planet. So use that gift, do what you need to do, and just do your best. All you can do is your best at the end of the day. But complaining is not going to get us anywhere. So let's all just do our best and rise up.
Well, I love that, and I think that is and really, I mean, I'm very believe it or not, I'm extremely optimistic regarding the future of the community. Like I really believe that there will be pockets of power in the Black community, unlike anything we've ever seen before. And so while we can't, necessarily control the actions of everybody and get everyone to kind of understand and agree why you might do what you're doing, I want to encourage everybody to just realize that, sometimes everybody ain't ready to go with you. And some of you may have relatives who can't quite understand and see things. But I will tell you this, when you become successful and you have wealth and your family's doing well, that will give you a type of power. And because we talked about consciousness, I believe you'll be ready to consciously use that power to be able to support and influence others in whatever way you choose. Right. The same way wealthy people influence you'll be wealthy, and you'll have, people will say, hey, can I get some money? You'll say, yeah, but I need you to change this. Stop drinking so much. And then maybe we'll talk. Right. Or whatever it is. Right. Whatever. Henry Ford used to do that. I don't know if y'all know it. Henry Ford used to go. He paid people more money than they make anywhere else. He paid them like $5 a day or something, which was an extraordinary pay rate at that time. And he was like, well, since I'm paying you all this money, I'm gonna come up in your house, and if you live in funky, I'm gonna make you clean your house. If your kids are dirty, then I need you to go wash. Like he was a little weird that way, right? But still, whatever, right? And I'm not saying that power can't be abused, right? So you don't want to abuse it, but I want you to have the power because we need good black leadership, and you are that leadership. You are. If you are the mother, the father, the coach, the counselor, the teacher. The Asada is a leader. I mean, a freaking school principal, and you've educated all these kids and shaped all these minds. One of the greatest leaders in this country is right here. And then Rochelle is a leader in AI. She's a leader in technology, right? We need these are our black leaders. It's not, some dude with a perm in New York City. It's people that are right there around you, right there in front of you, and the person in the mirror. So everybody, let's go be leaders, and God bless you both for
Boys, I'm
coming in.
I'm manning the chat over here. People need information on tonight again, please. Can you put
Yeah,
that in?
absolutely. And I want them to get your information too. So maybe you start with
Yeah.
you, Miss Moore. How can people get in touch with you? And I'll share the information about tonight in the chat while she does that. So you'll see that link come through. Go ahead, please, Miss Moore or Dr.
Y'all
Moore.
see my first name there? It's Asada. I'm best with email. It's asada@gmail.com. I was one of the people that piloted Gmail all those many, many years ago. So people ask, how did you get Asada with no numbers in it? All right.
Wow, really? Holy
Yep.
cow, that's impressive. Okay, so
But I
she
had
you know
100 of them and I didn't know what to do with them. I was only like 20, 19, 20 years old at the time. I didn't know what to do with them.
wow. So that's not Gmail. You got OG mail.
I know,
Okay,
right?
okay.
Yeah.
I see you, OG. I see you. Okay. Rochelle, how can we follow you and support what you're doing online? I'm gonna follow y'all on Instagram actually, and then
Yeah,
also how
follow
can
me on
people get in touch with
Instagram,
you too?
LinkedIn, Michelle Otabella, put the link there. Someone can put it in the everyone part. Um, yeah, I'm LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok. Yeah. I've got all the
I
platforms because I do digital marketing. I'm all of them. But my main methods is
found
Facebook,
you.
Instagram, LinkedIn.
Okay, well,
Michelle
I
Otabella.
just found you,
Yeah.
Rochelle. Rochelle Adubuela
I'm the
on
only one, Dr. Boyce, one and only. Yeah.
you are the only one and only.
Yes, you
There
are.
is no other
There's
person
no
that has
other.
your name. So now I just hit that follow back button, and you were following me, and I should have been following all along. So I feel bad.
Yeah, I was hurt,
But
Dr. Boyce. I was hurt. All these
I
all these
know it.
years.
Well, now the pain has come to an end. So, ma'am, you are not a victim. We ain't no victims up in here. Don't be up in here hurt. I'm playing. I'm playing. And Asada, and you are is it more math
More.
geniuses?
Yep.
Okay, math geniuses. Okay. All right, I'm gonna find you too, and I encourage everybody to take a moment, look these ladies up because, I kind of feel like it helps. Like you have people that are trying to do the right thing for themselves, for their families, for the community, stuff like that, and I think just you see their content. Like I think if you're hitting that like button or you're just making a little comment, that means a lot. I know it means a lot to me. Like if I put when I make my little stupid videos, if somebody's like, "Yeah, that was good," or "I like that," or whatever, it feels good. It's like, oh, somebody cares, somebody's paying attention, right? And I know. And here's the crazy part. I have a decent number of followers. 250,000 or whatever. And if I feel that way, I know there's a lot of people that maybe have fewer than that where it really makes a difference when y'all step up and just say something. Like even if you got that one, I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna be done. One other young influencer, Dr. Moore, that I really am growing to appreciate besides Kai Cenat, and you talked about him reading books. I love that. Is a guy named I Show Speed.
Oh,
He's
yes, yes, yes. He
yeah.
just did that piece in Africa
Yeah, I
where he
love
was
him,
about
and
different countries.
he's been going to Africa and
Yes,
exposing the amazing things about Africa. I mean, I love this guy,
yes.
and he tells a story where he says, when I first started streaming, he said I had one follower who would come in and make comments all day and just be there with me, and he said I would show up every day because that one follower would be there waiting for me every day, and he
Mhm.
said that's what kept him going, and I said, are you kidding me? This guy has millions of followers now, and to think that his whole trajectory was kept alive because he had one supportive person in
Mhm.
his life. I want everybody to just understand you can be that person for somebody. You
But he
got
said he
that
showed up
power.
every day.
Yes, yes. So don't keep it inside. It's amazing how like or one little comment, like you just say, I like that outfit. You look great, or that speech was amazing.
Yeah.
That's fuel for people, right? So
True.
give that fuel to yourself, number one, positive talk to yourself every day about yourself. And then two, when you see somebody in the community doing good work, don't just sit back silently and enjoy it.
That's
Just
right.
get in and make a quick little comment.
That's right.
One of the best things that I love when I did start to get a few people that followed is I love the fact that just one like Dr. Boyce comment like means can mean a lot for people, and they're like, oh my God, I can't, and I'm like, oh, this is a superpower, right? So it's like you get a compliment, you get a compliment, you get a fire emoji, you get a right because I'm a drop because the thing is everybody has that power, and I want everybody to commit to go be that for somebody. Right.
Yeah.
So can we do that? Can we end on that positive note? And I'm gonna end because y'all know I talk too much. And I'll say thank you so much, Dr. Asada Moore. I appreciate you. And thank you, Rochelle Adubuela. Did I say it right? Did I get it?
Or Dubella. Tap into your
Adubella.
Nigerian, you remember?
I added an extra like
Odu.
little buela. It's not buela. It's Adubella. And did you know that I'm 43% Nigerian? Did you know that?
I thought it was 33.
Huh?
I
No,
thought it
it's
was
43.
33.
No,
You
it's
43?
43.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I
Wow,
checked.
wow,
I
wow.
checked again. I was probably saying 33 just because I couldn't remember the number, but I looked it up again. It's 43%.
Wow, you should be
Igbo.
able to say Odubella off the top of your tongue then.
Yeah, I'm Igbo. Are you Igbo?
Oh, no, my husband's Yoruba. So I'm an adopted Nigerian through my husband, but my parents are
Oh,
Jamaican. Yeah, my parents are
okay.
Jamaican and St. Kitts. Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. Well,
Okay.
we from the Igbo tribe. We accept everybody. So
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
I know,
So I'm gonna
I've got a lot
stop.
of Igbo friends.
Let me stop when I say something stupid. So all right. So God bless you both. Thank you for coming in, and thank you all
Thank
for
you.
listening. And
Thank you,
I'll see you all
B1.
tonight.